Good evening. Apologies for starting a few minutes late here, but I am calling to order the council meeting for May 7, 2018. Please stand for invocation followed by Pledge of Allegiance. Bobby, if you lead us, please.
Father God, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for health. We thank you for strength. God, we thank you for loving us and for your grace and for your mercy. God, we ask you if you would please be with this council, continue to watch over them, continue to order their steps, continue to be with this agenda that we have before us today. Continue to let your presence be known, Father, and let your wisdom be given to each one of our council persons. We ask you also, Father, to bless our mayor, bless our city staff, bless our first responders, Father God, and also, God, that's a special prayer for our persons that work for our city too, that we have a lot of sickness, we have a lot of serious illnesses that we are concerned about, not only there, but also I'm sure in this room. There's persons who may not be feeling good, may be sick, but they still are here. So be with them, God. If there's healing that's needed, we ask you to do that. If there's healing of the spirit that's needed, we ask you to do that. We just thank you, God, for how you continue to bless us and keep us. We know, Lord, that you can do all things possible through you. So we ask you to continue to watch over our city. Continue to bless it and keep it. Continue to help us all to be one on one accord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Bobby. Roll call, please.
Councilperson White.
Present.
Councilperson Sestovny.
Present.
Councilperson Yon.
Present.
Councilperson Maples.
Here.
Councilperson Hawkins.
Here.
Council President Gill.
Here.
Councilperson Ellis.
Present.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect 8 council members present, Councilperson Owen absent.
Okay, I need an approval for the minutes of our regular proceedings for our council meeting on April 16, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion and a second? Oh. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Approve of the agenda.
I have a change, if that's okay.
Okay.
On line 18, where I'm talking about the nonprofit donations,
Okay.
if we can table that to the next meeting, I apologize, I'm not, don't yet have the ordinances to present.
Okay. So if we can have
We will talk about it next meeting, I promise.
if we, then
What
we'll
else?
need a motion to approve the agenda of tabling number 18. Somebody put that in form of a motion? Kelly?
I will, so moved.
Do I have a second by Nathan? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Claims
you.
to be approved. I have the general, and I do have a couple things.
You have questions? The general claims tonight are $1,743,917.36.
Okay. On page 3, under planning and zoning, it has my name down for a special meeting. I don't get a check for that, so we
I'll
do need
delete
to
that one.
reduce the claim for the $40. And if my math is right, it'll bring the claims to $1,743,877.36. And I do have another question here. It's on page 11, where down by on this public safety under the Lloyd, it's our share of the 911. That says it's due 4/9/2018. Are we past our time to pay that, or is that just some kind of clerical error, or are we all right in our payment on that?
I can look into that. I think there's 2, is there 2 payments of that?
I'm just saying where, it says on there where our share was due 4/9, and we gotta, I guess, be kind
Put
of,
it through when we get the bill, so I'm not sure. Maybe it was
we're
due
not late
upon
on that, are
receipt.
we?
We had a meeting last week, and it wasn't, nothing came up
Okay.
that we were late.
I just wanted to make sure that we're mindful of that. I don't want to be late and
Yeah,
share
it might
with
have
that.
been one of those due upon receipt kind of things, and it's just now getting into the claims.
All of the claims in order?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion approved. Claims with the change.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve the claims of $1,743,877.36. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Parks.
Thank you. Parks are $80,659.89.
All claims in order.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the parks claims of $80,659.89. Any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Heather. Report of the clerk.
None at this time.
Okay. And we'll move right into old business. Kim couldn't be here tonight, so I told her that I would handle this since it was passed on the first and second. This was amending the salary ordinance to include the assistant parks director. So if you don't have any further questions, I'll entertain a motion for third and final.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Paul. I think he was here. You got your assistant director. Okay, we'll move on to, and we will have a public hearing tonight on the ordinance of additional appropriation. Heather, has anything changed?
No, this is for the funding for the assistant director.
Any other questions from council? If not, I'm going to open up public hearing. Okay, is it on the screen? Okay. At this time, I officially open up public hearing for 2018 OR 24. It's for the additional appropriation to have the funds for our assistant parks director. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak for or against it? Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will officially close. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved 2018 OR 24 on the third.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 24, am I right? No, 25.
No,
24. All right, okay. Oh, I was right. Any other question or comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. There we got the public hearing tonight. Has anything changed on, this is that pass?
This is for the reappropriating the monies that we got for the K4 and Hamhead from UEZ.
Any further questions for council? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to officially open up public hearing for 2018 OR 25. This is just appropriating money back from another entity in the city reimbursing parks. Seeing none, I'll officially close public hearing. We'll move on to, we need the third and final.
Motion approved 2018 OR 25 on the third and final.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to new business, which we have Mayor Moore with us tonight. He wishes to speak with us about some capital improvements. Mayor, you have the floor.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are in a unique situation. You all and the rest of the city of Jeff have worked so hard, and we've spent the money so wisely, we have a surplus. Back in February, when I gave the State of the City address, I presented some projects that I felt the city, if the opportunity presented itself, needed to address and take advantage of. Tonight, I'm here to ask that the surplus be used in this manner. I have a number of projects here, and I will start with the sidewalk project along Plank Road. There will be a need for $700,000 for that project. It has been talked about for a long time, and as you go through the city, you will notice it's actually one of the older developments around our community, but there are no sidewalks there, and there are pedestrians there. So I'm asking for, out of the general fund surplus, $350,000. And out of the motor vehicle surplus, an additional $350,000. That will complete that project. I am asking for help. This past winter, when we had a whole lot of snow falling, we typically have 14 trucks at our disposal to clean the snow and put salt down. And I believe we were down 3 for a big portion of the winter. I'm asking for the purchase of 2 new snow trucks at $320,000 out of the motor vehicle surplus. I am asking for a new Packer truck of $200,000, and I'm asking for 2 new pickups of $71,000. That total is $591,000. There has been a lot of anticipation and talk and a lot of excitement with the idea of building an East End Park. I know Scott Hawkins has worked really hard for the last couple of years to make this project happen. And we've looked and looked, and we're dealing with River Ridge on property, but we're still waiting for an answer. So I would ask that $2.2 million out of the general go towards the designation of an East End Park. Let me say this, because I did give credit to Scott Hawkins. The sidewalk project along Plank Road, I apologize, Ed Zestani has been pushing hard for that project for quite some time. So it is in Ed's district, but it's actually a road that probably most of you drive from time to time. So Ed, your hard work's been heard, and we want to make sure we take care of all the residents that live back there.
Thank you, Mayor.
Certainly. And with the salt, snow trucks, and the Packer and the pickup, I got to give credit to Ron Ellis and Lisa Gill. You know, it's good. I come to work every day, and I work with all these department heads, and I know day to day the projects and the things that are needed because I work with them. But it takes an extra effort from city council members to really dive into some of the projects and meet with the department heads and find that out. And this is a perfect example, not only with the sidewalks, with the city engineer, but with the street commissioner, Clark Miles, who's back here now. Ron and Lisa both, I got to say, thank you for being such an advocate for the street department, the employees, and everything that we're doing. Because the street department honestly probably touches more of our residents than anybody. And they hear the complaints. I want to make sure they know the city stands behind them and gives them the equipment and the tools they need to do the job right. The New Chapel sidewalk, also there is an additional need for funding of $250,000 from the edit that I'm requesting you all address and take care of as well. And that again is Scott Hawkins. And a deceleration lane, which actually on 10th Street in front of the new Clark County Auto Auction. This is a project that was actually looked into a few years back. The city did not have the funding to do it, but now that the auction is up and running, if you ever drive down that road, it's pretty easy to see what this purpose will serve. Trucks, cars, many of them hauling extra vehicles. There's no lane to decelerate to get out of the way of what we would consider the fast lane on 10th Street. So at a mere $55,000, city engineer believes he can fix that project as well. So in a nutshell, we made pledges in February. We wanted to improve the city. The surplus gives us the opportunity to do it. You all have been extremely wise with the money. Everybody in the city of Jeff benefits when we're careful with how we spend our money. Everybody in the city of Jeff deserves to have quality of life, public safety, and just a better place to live. These projects ensue safer streets. They ensue a better quality of life with a new park. The vehicles that these two trucks are replacing in the street department, I forget the age of them, but I think they're better than 20 years old. So it's a good time. We don't always get to say we had a surplus. I'm a firm believer in always putting aside a nest egg. You all have done that. But when you have a surplus, it's not the type of thing that you get to fund something that comes to you annually. It's a one-time fix. Next year, we may not have it. Let's take care of the problems that we can, and I would ask that you all address this problem.
Well, Mayor, I commend you for bringing this to us because you are benefiting the taxpayers of the city of Jeff with all your asks. So I commend you for doing that.
Well, let's also thank the taxpayers, because that's where the surplus came
Well,
from.
that's where it needs to go back to.
Well, Mayor, I would like to say, I once sat in the seat that Clark Miles is sitting in now, and I know how bad the vehicles was at the time that I was there. As a matter of fact, the last salt truck that I bought when I was there came from surplus state equipment. And if the sanitation department didn't have one of the best mechanics anywhere around the city of Jeffersonville, most of the time the trucks would be broke down somewhere. So I wholeheartedly support the money that you're proposing to spend for the streets and sanitation department. I think it's something that really and truly needed to be done. I don't normally support additional appropriations, but I'm 100% in favor of this.
I would ask that you all vote on these collectively. I don't know if there's...
We have an additional appropriation. It's number, I think, 19 on our agenda, and we did include all your asks.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I don't have a question, just a statement. So my point was going to be just for transparency's sake, because then everyone has this summary of some of our funds, but we currently have $8.2 million in our general fund remaining and another $2.78 million in our motor vehicle fund remaining. So while this obviously is a large number, that still puts the city of Jeffersonville in sound fiscal shape. The advice is that we keep in 15% in our surplus, and we are still, even if all these funds are approved, above that 15%. So while this certainly is a large number, we have a lot still in that nest egg, so to speak, in case there are any emergencies or things we might need those funds for. I just want to make sure we said that.
I think we kept it at 20%, didn't we?
Minimum is 15, but we're even above that, if I'm correct, yeah.
And that 15 does not count the rainy day fund.
Right.
either.
Yeah,
That's correct.
which is
If there are
another...
no more questions, I will sit back here and
All right.
wait for this to be voted on.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We'll move on to 14, which is the resolution approving waiver of noncompliance for Cutter Investment Partners, real and personal property tax abatement, and we will need a resolution number.
It's resolution number 4.
Okay.
And what happened, I guess somebody's going to speak in behalf. John is here. But what had happened is when he went to file his information, they found out that there had been an error with the paperwork getting to the county. That's all I'm going to say. So in order to do it, we had talked with the assessor and the auditor. In order to correct it, there just needs to be a waiver, and there's a letter attached to it. Okay.
Mr. Merkley, are you presenting on this? Okay. And then this is more like housekeeping so they get their, okay. Since Mr. Cutler, does anybody have any questions in this regards to this?
The only, if we could get, if the mayor would sign this before the end so we can get it sent to them tonight.
Motion to pass 2018-R4, is that the number?
Yes.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 R4. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Cutter. Hopefully this rectifies the situation for you. Okay. We get to where I'm going to make my drainage board appointment. I'm going to appoint John Kettenbrink, which he is here tonight, so if you please come up and just introduce you so the council knows who you are. I appreciate that.
Hi, Council. Thanks for having me. So I'm John Kettenbrink. Family and I have lived here for about 18 years now, called Jeff home. So got 3 kids that go to the public schools here. My wife's a nurse here. I'm an architect by trade, so I own a small company over in Louisville. This opportunity came up, so Lisa and I started talking. And I've been kind of looking for a way maybe to give back to the community a little bit, and this seemed like a good fit given my skill set. So I was pretty excited about it, and thank you guys for your consideration.
Well, I certainly appreciate you stepping up and saying yes. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight as well.
I appreciate that. So can I please have a
I'll make a motion to appoint Mr.
Kettenbrink?
I'll second.
Thank you. I got a motion and a second to appoint John Kettenbrink as my drainage appointment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Congratulations, John. You're officially my appointment. Thank you.
You start tomorrow, right?
Okay, now we're move on with, kind of put this under drainage board report, only because, as you all are aware, I go to the drainage board meetings and I've received several phone calls. The drainage board had sent a letter, they actually even requested that we put a moratorium on any future business in the area of Waverly in the watershed, and they're really pressing for something to be done. So we're working with the administration, and you all know we do have a drainage issue out there. We've had it out there for 20 plus years that I know of. So we just really need to come up with some kind of solution for this. With that, I'm gonna, Mr. Merkley, if you.
Yeah, the administration of the city, upon the recommendation of the engineering, is requesting the city council's approval for us to purchase land along Worley Road to perform a drainage project that our engineers or our consultants have recommended. However, pursuant to state statute, for the city to purchase that land, it requires that the city council adopt a resolution indicating the city council's interest in purchasing the land. If you go, as you can see, we have the legal description is attached. Also, the statute requires that you designate a purchasing agent to purchase the property. You would designate the Board of Public Works as the purchasing agent to purchase and acquire the property pursuant to the purchasing statute. And then also it acknowledges that you, or the resolution further states that you acknowledge that in the event that the city is unable to effectuate that purchase with acceptable terms, that you acknowledge that the Board of Public Works and the city may pursue the property through eminent domain, but you are not authorizing the eminent domain. You're just acknowledging that in the event we cannot purchase the property, that is an option that the city has. And I have one for the clerk.
May I offer some insight? My client?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So, I believe that what I think should happen is that the originally presented ordinance that was a resolution that was given to you all, you need to act on it. However, I think that probably I have in my hands a resolution that's more reflective of an alternative you may consider. You want to take one of those from Dustin? Well, you know, you have long conversations.
That's the one. That's the one clerk I just handed.
And the clerk has. You have that. And so after you take action on the first one, we can address the second, what might be an amendment that's got a paragraph 3 and 4.
This is the same.
No.
Something changed?
Okay, hold on a second. 3 and 4 are still included.
No, 4 says the council further acknowledges that the city, by and through the Board of Public Works, has the authority
I see.
to proceed with the acquisition. It's just an acknowledgement of the law that we talked about, an acknowledgement of the law.
Yes,
Does that make sense now?
that makes sense.
Does that make sense?
This legalese had me confused for a moment.
That's how we stay in business, where people don't understand. If
Okay,
you understood us, you wouldn't need me.
can I ask a question? There's only one resolution, correct? All right.
Now there is, yes.
Which will be resolution number 5, correct?
They didn't have. I apologize. I thought you all had that on in your packet. the one
No.
you're talking about.
So the one we're discussing and voting on is the one you
That
just
would be
handed us?
correct, the one that I just handed you. It's paragraph 3, the council designates the Board of Public Works and Safety as the lawful purchasing agent to purchase or acquire the land pursuant to the Indiana Code. That is the law. So that is who so you're making a statement that the lawfully designated purchasing agent is who it is. And 4 is you acknowledge that the city has the authority through the Board of Public Works to proceed to acquire the land through eminent domain if in fact the money you set aside for the purpose of buying it is not accepted. And that's a statement of the law.
Exhibit?
And the exhibit would be...
Oh, it's the formal description of the property.
Correct.
That's the one you have?
Yes, sir.
So
You
does that
want to see
make,
it?
No.
Okay.
that makes sense to everybody? I apologize, I was confused. I thought it was the first one.
Thank you for making that change.
You're more than welcome.
And very quickly.
Yes.
Well,
All right. So is there any discussion? We have a motion or?
I make a motion to approve resolution 2018 R5. Is that correct?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 R5. Is there any further discussion or concern, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
All those opposed,
Aye.
motion passes. We move on to Paul. We have an ordinance amending Paul Northern that is, an ordinance amending 2017 OR 49, which I think you are asking for. Do you now have petty cash or you were asking for petty cash?
No, we don't, and this ordinance has several different departments that have petty cash and cash change, and we're actually asking for cash change and not petty cash. It's a total amount of $30 to go to our Ken Ellis Center. Occasionally, people come in and want to pay their dues or buy pop from the pop machine, and they need some change, and in the past, the people that work there would have to go into their wallets and get change for them. So we're asking to amend the 2017 OR 49 to include the cash change for the Ken Ellis.
Anybody have any questions for Paul?
Number 6.
26.
26.
Do you think we can add one more ordinance amends, which amends on this? It's amending like 6 different ordinances at this point.
Motion to approve 2018 R 26 on the first and second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 26 on first and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
And we tabled 18, so we're going to move on to Heather, an ordinance for additional appropriation, and our public hearing will be 5/21/18.
These all address the mayor's request for the surplus proposal.
Yes, but we just took action, so I think to keep everything together, I think we're going to have to add, Mr. Merkley, what is the amount we should,
It's 462.5.
462.5? You have not advertised, correct?
No.
So this way it'll be clean, we'll have everything together in one advertisement.
Yes.
You'll just give us a clean copy next time to do the
Yes.
appropriation and the funded purposes. But we just passed a resolution to be able to acquire some land, we have to have money.
Let's call it, we're trying to make sure it's the acquisition of.
Acquisition.
Yeah, so just for clarification for the audience, so it's $462,500 that is being added. We have to appropriate that funds to be able to follow through with the intent to purchase the property that we just passed in the previous resolution. That number comes from an average of two different appraisals of that property, so that's where that dollar amount is coming from.
And the request is coming from the general fund under the Board of Public Works. department.
You're looking at me, I don't know the answer to that question.
That's what I,
And then basically for the public's, rather than going through all of it, it's just basically funding everything the mayor just had
yes,
asked for, the salt trucks and the sidewalks and the things, but,
yes, yes.
only thing is, Mike, I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't mean to disrespect you.
Calling Mike.
I support all this, but I, as president of council, I would like to make a recommendation that it be contingent upon the land requirement for the park.
Well, and I understand what you're saying, and I'm actually talking with Councilman Zestani. That's why I worded it, a park in the East End. I feel very good about our chances of getting the property at River Ridge. But that being said, I know Mr. Hawkins has been fighting since before he was elected to get a park in the East End. And I think everybody on this council supports that idea. So that's why I didn't want to designate it a specific property. If we're all on board for an East End park, the request of 2.2 million is simply for an East End park.
Okay, and I'll be fine with that. I just didn't want to put money aside for something.
So, and just so you'll know, I will be making the same request of the Parks Authority for $700,000, and I will be making the same request to the Redevelopment Commission for $700,000. But again, I get into the habit of calling it Chapel Lake Park, but regardless, if River Ridge were to say no, our goal is still to put a park in the East End, and that's why I'm asking the money be set aside for an East End park.
Okay.
And if I can follow up with that, the reason he called me out on that is because in the previous Parks Authority, we recognized the need for East End Park. This Parks Authority recognized the need for East End Park. The study that was done by Colbert Hawkins as far as the need for the city was for a large East End Park. So I think there's a consensus, there's a need to have a large East End Park, regardless if this particular parcel of land works or not. So I support that.
Yeah, and just so you'll know, I've had conversations, this does go through River Ridge, and Scott Hawkins was there when I addressed the board, but, River Ridge is made up of all separate municipalities around Clark County, and this has the support of Utica, Charlestown, the county, even Phil McCauley, who represents the port, came to see me the other day. I fully expect the River Ridge Board will vote on this. They're dealing with a couple of other side issues that are distracting them right now. But, so you'll know, every entity in Clark County supports this idea because it's not only a park that the people of Jeffersonville are going to get to enjoy, it's something Clark County will enjoy. And it's a selling point to River Ridge. It's a big positive. It's been overwhelmingly supported by the residents, and you don't have to live in the East End to appreciate it. It is going to be, if we get what we ask for, this park will be larger than Community Park in New Albany, and I think everybody for decades has recognized what a large park, Community Park in New Albany is. This park potentially will be larger.
And I would like to echo the mayor's sentiment. I think the River Ridge, I think the individual members, when you talk to them and hear them talk, I think their support, and I think they've maybe been a little sidetracked by some extemporaneous matters, and then when they get back on track, I share the view that this will happen, but it sometimes moves at the speed of government when you're trying to get these things done, but I look forward to having it pretty soon.
And one more thing, Colbert Hawkins has been working for free up to this point. So a lot of the time that has been put into the design with the Planning and Zoning Office and multiple other departments in the city, Colbert Hawkins, which created our Parks Master Plan, has been, they've met with us out there, we've walked the land, they've drafted some preliminary plans. The buy-in is from everybody in this community. It is a home run of a project.
please extend our appreciation for Culver Hawkins doing that pro bono. That's a huge savings to the city, so we're grateful.
If I could only get attorneys to do that, we'd be in much better.
So this ordinance will be number 27, correct?
Will any of this money be spent before we own the land?
No, that's why I'm asking for the park of the East End. You all are just being asked to put it into a fund that it will be there.
Which fund is it going into?
We're just appropriating the surplus cash. So if nothing's spent or no contracts are done by the end of the year, then it would just go back to...
Looks like it's going into Public Works Engineering.
Yeah, it'll be appropriated to be spent if needed.
Right.
That way, we're just appropriating, correct.
Appropriating the cash.
And I do...
We have designs for the New Chapel sidewalk. Has that been designed?
Andy's here. Yes.
It is under design now.
Okay.
It's under design? And what about the Plank Road sidewalks?
Not started. We don't have an appropriation.
We don't have a design for that?
The funding includes the design appropriation.
Pay for the design.
Okay. And the deceleration lane?
Design on that will be done in-house.
Okay.
I do want to remind council with this is motion to approve that you do include the addition of that $462,000 for property acquisition.
Or 62.5.
Or $62,500, yes. Since it's not on our original, we do need to include that.
You have to amend
And I just want to say, again, Ed Zestani, with that project you just referred to, has taken a ton of phone calls, has had more than his share of complaints made to him, and he has continuously tried to fix the problem. Probably since day one he came into the city of Jeff. This is a golden opportunity to fix a problem that hundreds of residents will benefit from. And I want to thank Ed for tirelessly working on this project to make this happen.
So we need to do an amend?
Just another note too, with the amendment, it still brings the reserves above the 15%.
Okay. All right, good to know. So do I have a motion to amend?
Motion to amend.
Second.
I got a motion to amend 2018 OR 27, amending by doing additional for the land acquisition in the amount of $462,500. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Who's second?
I did.
Scotty.
Motion carries. Now I need,
Motion to pass amended, back number 27.
I got a motion by Scott Hawkins, seconded by Scotty Maples to pass the amended 2018 OR 27. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you all. Big night tonight. I appreciate y'all's help.
Okay, we move on. We've got Nathan Pruitt, an ordinance amending the City of Jeffersonville's comprehensive plan, which is 2015 OR 58.
Good evening. Let me get set up here and we'll get started.
Say 58?
We are, the comprehensive plan is 2015 OR 58.
It'll be number 28.
This will be 28 that we're doing. We're amending 2015 OR 58.
All right, so super exciting news on the heels of really exciting capital improvement projects is looking at advanced planning for reinvigorating parts of town that are currently under capital improvement. So this is 10th Street. You're all familiar with that project. Andy's been working really hard to get that done. So just want to run through a couple of things real quick. We'll be about 15 minutes. I'll turn it over to the consultants in just a minute. For anybody in the room behind me that doesn't know who I am, I'm Nathan Pruitt, the Planning Director for the City of Jeffersonville. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of background here, and then I'll turn it over. So this is a plan that we're presenting to you that we are asking for basically an amendment to our comprehensive plan. That's our city's general plan that looks out 25 years into the future and talks about what we need to change and strive for. And so this is the 10th Street Strategic Investment Plan, otherwise known as 10th Street Master Plan. And basically, this is a policy and investment guide. And what that means is it gives us direction and provides strategic investment sites and locations that the community has identified to actually funnel all of our efforts. There's a lot of work to be done. We needed some focus, so that's what we engaged in. And a summary of the engagement so far with the public. I think this is really exciting to know how excited people are. And we heard a lot of great stories about the past of 10th Street and the great memories that were made, eating steak dinner and going out with family on Sunday, even seeing a movie on 10th Street. Those are all really proud memories that people have, and we heard that through this engagement. We had interactions with over 150 people during this planning process. On top of that, we had 600 survey results. The consultant will talk about how impressive that is later. We did have 3 public meetings where we presented ideas at each and tested out things and asked for feedback of, are we in the right direction? Is there something else we've missed? We also had 2 technical assistance meetings that included city officials as well as local utility corporations. So we got some input from them on what we were presenting. We also had 3 steering committee meetings. That included 13, you'll see the list there, that's the steering committee. It included 13 community leaders, which you will have in your packet there. Everyone from local developers to some representatives from our local school districts, city council members as well. Really a great cross-section of existing business and existing leaders in our community to give us the best possible outcome for our future on 10th Street. We also had focus group meetings that were tailored to specific industries. So we had a neighborhood focus group where we got targeted feedback. We also had a developer one. We had a property owner one and local business. So we really got a lot of intense, on the ground information from that. And the last thing that we're really excited about, which we had no idea that we would get into with this type of project from the very beginning, is that we actually solicited the local home builders association and commercial builders association, and we actually had a completely full mayor's conference room of more than 25 people doing a workshop basically on pocket neighborhoods, which is a concept that we've presented in this plan. They are really excited about that concept. If the price is right and the land's available, they want to move. So that's really exciting. We never thought we would garner that much interest even before the plan is adopted. I think that's a really good reference point to the fact that there is a need and there's demands that aren't being met, and there's a lot of energy I think that we can harness on 10th Street moving forward. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our consultant. You'll see in the bottom right there of that screen that there were a trifecta. The lead was MKSK. Green Street Limited did their economic analysis, and BF&S was their engineering team. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Good evening, Andrew Overbeck with MKSK. We have, like Nathan said, a really great steering committee to guide us, including Councilor Gill. With me tonight as well as Luis Huber-Calvo from our office here in Louisville. So I'm going to take another 12 minutes here and sort of go through the high level of the report that Nathan has provided you. We looked at 10th Street really from downtown to 265. Really a corridor that you all are investing in now with streetscape improvements. We wanted to build on that momentum and start to look at how this corridor could sort of come back to life. As Nathan mentioned, we had over 600 survey responses, which for a city of this size is a really fantastic response. Really a credit to all the neighborhood groups that we engaged in to sort of get the word out. The folks that were on our steering committee really did a good job of getting the word out to the neighbors surrounding 10th Street. But a couple key findings. 10th Street's a place where people may do their grocery shopping, but it's generally not a place that people are going to as a destination, and it used to be that. That's one of the things that people told us is they really would like it to be a place that they go to by choice, instead of a corridor you pass through, one that's a destination. And I think that was an overwhelming goal of this effort that came out of our discussions with the community. As Nathan mentioned, we had a number of public sessions, a variety of tours and focus group sessions. But one of the things we did at the very beginning was ask people where they thought strengths were along the corridor. Generally, this is some of the newer stuff, especially some of the civic infrastructure and buildings along the corridor. We asked where the weaknesses are, and not surprisingly, they sort of pointed out the sort of vacancy along the corridor, the sort of pedestrian unfriendliness of 10th Street, lack of sidewalks in places, and then the shopping centers that some of which have seen some better days and could have some improvements made to them. And not surprisingly, the opportunities that they identified were how do we breathe some new life into these shopping centers? How might we look at the corridor in maybe a different way and better connect it with the neighborhoods that surround 10th Street? The other source of information we used was looking at the market, and as Nathan mentioned, there's a good demand as we looked at the market for a wide variety and diversity of housing types and choices. When looking at that going out 5 years, on average, we're looking at maybe 1,900 units that could be supported in the marketplace, and that's really driven by River Ridge, what's happening there in terms of drawing new employment and activity. And then I think just a function of not having a whole lot of supply come on the market in this part of the region. A little less demand in terms of retail and office. There is some demand there, but as we look forward at the future with River Ridge changing things, we think that could improve as well, especially as you continue to make improvements to 10th Street. So that really left us with 4 guiding principles. Focus on the downtown, but allow these new centers along 10th Street to emerge. Build pocket neighborhoods. We'll talk about that, some different types of residential product that could serve residents here as well as new residents. Streets that support mobility and investment. So creating streets that are surrounding 10th Street that bring people to it and make 10th Street a little more pedestrian friendly. And then creating this organizational infrastructure around these projects, potential project sites. And again, this could be your midtown. You have River Ridge, you have downtown. This really could be a midtown and provide a different product offering. So great timing with the budget surplus conversation today. One of the things we looked at, and Plank Road is highlighted on this diagram, maybe a little hard to see from that distance, but not only 10th Street where there's a lack of sidewalks, but also the neighborhood streets that connect you to 10th Street. So again, over time, it will take take some time to make those investments. We wanted to highlight those in this plan and make that a clear priority to improve the pedestrian infrastructure in and around 10th Street. Additionally, bicycle infrastructure, a lot of bicycle plans have been done in the city in the last 10 or 15 years. We want to build on that. Again, connecting back to the neighborhoods, into downtown, to the Big 4 Bridge. It's really changed the face of downtown. And then improving transit infrastructure. When we met with folks from River Ridge and employers along the corridor, they really talked about how hard it was for folks to take public transit to get to work. And so with TARC looking at their system realignment, there's an opportunity to make the case for better service on 10th Street that would serve employers as well as the neighborhoods along 10th Street. So we looked in close detail at several different development sites along the corridor. The purpose of these really is to set the community vision in place, amend the comprehensive plan so that vision is something that you all turn to when opportunities arise. But it's also a way to get existing property owners, existing business owners, neighbors to get excited about the potential of 10th Street. And again, it's going to take partnerships in order to make any of these things happen. But we wanted to paint the picture of what's supported in the marketplace, what the neighbors seem to be asking for, and then what we think are some different development patterns that would be successful going ahead. So we wanted to paint a picture of what those possibilities are, and that's what we'll do here the rest of the presentation. So starting toward the 265 end at Rural King, knowing that the Kroger is moving up the road, looked at the potential of redeveloping that center, and it really starts with starting to break down these large surface parking lots with streets and blocks that can help to start to frame development, as well as making trail connections and sidewalk connections into the neighborhoods. And that starts to set the stage for potential infill development that could take place of a mixed-use nature that's going to bring people to that place and make it a destination. So again, over time, incrementally, these things can be put in place, allowing the existing center to continue to operate, but starting to make changes along the way. Moving toward Jeff Plaza, this is a place where you've got some successful local businesses, Davis Nursery, Maxwell's, some things that we think are great anchors to build off. And here you have the opportunity of a stream corridor that sort of daylights around Davis Nursery, but you could put that back in, daylight that, create a new sort of park connection and trail connection into the neighborhood that would tie into amenities, park amenities on either side, and use that as a framework to start to fill in some of these surface parking lots with some different types of development that be compatible with the retail that's currently there. And again, make that a destination place, a place where people want to spend time. And eventually over time, as the market matures, start to add residential of different types to that center as things progress, and eventually getting to a place that's mixed use, which is going to be more successful, a place where people want to spend time and hang out, keeping that money in your community instead of having it go elsewhere throughout the region. The pocket neighborhood that Nathan mentioned, and the one that we met with the developers on and builders on a few weeks ago, looking at the former auto auction site. And again, starting with that infrastructure into the neighborhoods through new greenway trails and streets that start to break these large blocks down. Really creating a different type of housing, but one that fits seamlessly in with existing neighborhoods. So again, these are smaller scale lots that match a lot of what's already in place in the neighborhood, and creating a different type of housing than exists today. Some of these even could be single-story housing that allow folks to age in place and stay in the neighborhood, stay in Jeffersonville over time. And again, creating new neighborhoods to really build on the momentum of the jobs that are coming to River Ridge. This got a lot of good interest from the development and builder community that we looked at. And then finally, Youngstown Gateway Plazas. Here on the south side of 10th Street, a fair amount of vacancy. We want to try and, in the near term, create some adaptive reuse of existing buildings. We think it's a great place to start. Maybe it's a business incubator for small businesses or a new type of bar or restaurant that could take the space of some of that retail vacancy that's there right now. So a way to sort of start small and then over time create that framework to create a new node of activity along 10th Street. And again, 10th Street really is the core of this. You're doing a lot of great work along the corridor right now to add sidewalks and other infrastructure. We think continuing to build on that momentum will bring 10th Street into the future and not have this empty sort of midtown area of your city be something that connects downtown seamlessly with River Ridge. So to wrap up, next steps, obviously we're here tonight to talk to you about adoption and amendment of the comprehensive plan. Going ahead, starting to test some of these ideas, creating maybe a pilot district or a district project, looking at partners for those high priority areas. So that's a place to start. In a lot of cases, having a development corporation that's solely focused on this place and this corridor we find as an effective strategy for change. Branding and marketing the district, and then starting to do pre-development for high priority projects. So that's starting to look at some of the infrastructure work that might be supportive of development and in ways to sort of kickstart projects. So with that, happy to entertain any thoughts or questions you have.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate to the public that we are not changing any zoning. We're here to enhance what I call the donut hole because we've got so much development all around us, which part of that, almost a lot of that, is my district. So I've been an advocate for this. So I don't want existing business to know we're here to help them to improve, but we're not here to hinder them in any way, because that's been a source of concern in the phone calls that I've received from businesses that's in my district. So I just wanted to publicly state that we are not changing any zoning codes, and we're not going to hinder the existing business. As a matter of fact, we applaud them, want to help them all we can with this plan to improve their business.
Absolutely.
And thank you for all your work.
Sure.
The whole team.
Pleasure. Yes.
I think you guys did a great job. I like the plan. I like the vision for the future. And it's using some bold imagination. I think that's what's needed. So good work. I hope we can go down that path.
Yeah, I'll just echo that I think it's always great that we have a plan to let us know where we want to go, right? And that's the goal. I also appreciate the funding toolbox at the end of the presentation, and not just having a multitude of different potential funding sources. I was in a community a couple weeks ago that where their plazas for their downtown were, funded and advertised by businesses. So they had a PNC Plaza and, in looking at sponsorships and some of the public-private partnerships like we did with the Schnatter-Nahan Fieldhouse. I mean, I think that's a great direction that we can go as we look to start implementing some of these projects and keep moving us closer to this vision. So thank you for your work. This is excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, I think part of the early implementation that's already started to happen are those conversations with property owners, and they're getting interested. So we've had some good conversations.
Okay. So if there's no further questions, I will entertain a motion.
Just a second.
Oh, sorry.
So just to put this in a snapshot, it is an amendment to the comprehensive plan. Les is not here, but I'm 99.9% correct, I believe, in this, that it takes one reading to do this, much like a rezone, even though it's not a rezone, it's just a one reading, not a three reading. And it received favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. This was before them in a special meeting, open to the public, and I believe this also requires public comment. Yes. Just wanted to do those housekeeping items real quick.
Okay, thank you.
What was the vote in the planning commission?
It was unanimous for those that attended, yes.
No further questions, and I'll officially open up for any public comment. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak either for or against, or any input or comment to this 10th Street Strategic Investment Plan? Please come forward. Seeing none, I will close public comment. I guess everybody loves the idea. Now I will entertain a motion.
Ordinance 28.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 28, ordinance 28 on the first and only reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 28. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Congratulations, gentlemen. Motion carries and passes. Do we have any attorney comments from? Okay, we do have under department heads, Paul Northern wished to speak. Nathan, did you have anything further under department heads that you need?
No, thank you.
So Nathan and I have been working with a company to take care, or try to take care of the invasive species at Vissing Park. We hired a company to come in last year to take care of 1 acre of Vissing Park and remove exotic and invasive species in order to preserve and protect existing and future native tree canopy. So there's 23 acres out there. We did 1 acre, and we'd like to continue by doing the other 22 acres. I thought maybe we could have a field trip out to Vissing Park so you can see what that 1 acre looks like, and see if you'd like to help fund the remaining 22 acres. It's around a $26,000 price tag to complete the rest of the forested area out at Vissing Park. So want to entertain some ideas, or maybe set up a meeting for our June 4th is your next council meeting. My suggestion was maybe we meet out there at 6:15, take a look at Vissing Park, then come into your council meeting. But I'll leave that up to you.
You got a,
I'm sorry.
no, he wanted to do the June.
Yeah, you're right. It is next, but I think we have to go to June 4th because of some other commitments.
Okay.
And Nathan has been working with me on this, and actually I've been working with him on this. He's done a lot for me on this. So yes, it would be the June 4th meeting and not the May 25th, if that's something you want to do.
Up to council. Is that something that you all wish to do, is meet out at Vissing Park before our June 4th meeting, 6 o'clock? Is there anybody against it? Good?
I'll just be getting into town, so don't be offended if I'm not there.
Sure.
I'll be driving in from Indy, so.
I'll remind him to be offended that you're not there.
Right.
Okay.
Noted.
June 4th.
Did you have anything else, Paul?
Yeah, a couple other things. Since I was here, I want to address a couple things going on. Surplus money, we talked about that earlier, and the mayor mentioned we had some surplus in parks. I think if I'm not mistaken, we had about 1.6, 1.5, is that pretty accurate? That's okay. I think we're looking to give $700,000 to the chapel, or excuse me, the East End Park. And we've got a couple items that we might be looking at, and I'll come to you maybe at one of the next few meetings. But just want to bring it to your attention, at Bob Hedge Park, it is, I think it's in the 16 to 18 year age right now. There are some rubber tiles on the surface. And if you remember, that is an ADA accessible park. So the rubber tiles are starting to fail. They're starting to shrink, and there's some gaps in them. So we're going to need to do something to that pretty quick, whether it be a poured-in-place surface or replacing with new tiles. We don't have all of our quotes back, but it is an expensive project. So once I get my quotes back, we can come talk about that project and how it could be funded. And then the second one is down at the River Stage.
Hold on a second, Paul.
Sure. Mhm.
And talking about Bob Hedge Park, because that is a heavily used park and it is ADA. Talk with Delynn to see if, or if somebody can reach out to maybe WHS Crusade for Children to see if they might want to partner with us. But I'd like for that, if there's a problem down there that might, safety for, physically challenged children, there's quite a few of them that do utilize that park. We need to address this a lot sooner than later.
Or even grant funding.
Yeah.
So you want me to go talk to Delynn about grant opportunities?
She has that, she casts that net out there, she has that program to see if there's any possible funding and grants.
Good. We'll start there.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. The second one is down at the River Stage. With the flooding we've had in the past 2 or 3 months, it did a lot of damage to the railing in front of the River Stage, in front of the terrace lawn, the black rod iron railing. So we are going to put a Band-Aid on it. I should say we're going to do some repair work to it to get it where it's safe for this year. But at the end of the season, we're probably going to need to look at replacing that rail. And I'm still looking at getting quotes on that, so I can come back to you in the future. And then while I'm here, I wanted to just kind of give you an update on what's going on this month. Busy month for us in May and early June, so I just want to give you a few items that are going on in the city. May 12th, there's a CrossFit competition at Big Four. It's called Big Four Brawl. Also on the 12th is a Relay for Life event. They're both at Big Four on the same day, but they're at different ends of the park, so we don't see any problem with both of those activities going on. The following weekend, May 19th, is the 22 Challenge. It's a ruck march, and that happens down at Riverside Drive. On May 24th through the 28th, Abbey Road on the River returns for its second year in the city of Jeff. That's a 5-day event. And then on the 26th, the pool opens, which is Saturday of Memorial Weekend. The pool will be opening up that weekend. And then 6/1, the River Stage opens with the Louisville Crashers. 6/2, the movie night, and I'm sorry it escapes me what the movie is. And also on 6/2, the Farmers Market will open up. So just a few of the things that are going on in the month of May and first week in June. Just a few, yeah. And then the last thing I have, last meeting, Lisa, you mentioned Ken Ellis' phone bill out there. So I took a look at that. The total bill was about $330-something. The long distance bill was only $40. So, and that is a service charge. No matter what calls you get, it could be 0 calls. You automatically charge $40 for the long distance.
Okay, I don't know if we're talking about the same claim, because the claim I seen clearly had long distance.
Okay.
So I went down.
Well, I pulled
with you.
the last meeting. We'll talk about it.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that if it's city internal, if it's your all's calls, that's one thing. But being that such a public building and it's open, I just want to make sure that somebody's not using it, or we are being charged right, because it took a huge jump.
Right, and in the past few months, we've taken all phones out of play in that, except for the phones that are in Olivia's office. So someone would have to get into her office and use the phone. But even with that being said, last billing cycle, I didn't see any phone charges for long distance.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that.
Okay, I got a couple things.
Sure.
We did an additional appropriation on the play feature. So where are we at on that? Is it installed? Is it ready to go? Or are we still in the process of that?
It's in the process. The old play feature is down and out. The company that's doing the work had to go over in the Middle East. I don't know why. They had to do an installation over in the Middle East. They were coming back this week, hopefully today, and they said they would have it ready by the May 25th opening.
Okay, and we gave you the go-ahead last meeting to start interviewing. Have you had a chance to do that? Has that process started?
I've received 10 applications. Yeah, pretty good applications too, with a mixture of talents and experience. So we're going to start interviewing those next week, probably start midweek to late week. I'm going to start making those calls Wednesday, and bring those people in next week.
Because you did get your third and final as soon as the mayor,
Yes, and I appreciate that. I really do. So we've got some good candidates, and hopefully by mid-June, we'll have that person in play, if not sooner.
Well, thank you. Glad
All
to
right.
see you back.
Thank you.
And doing well.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Okay, do we have any public comment? None? Then we will move on to council comments, and we'll start with Councilperson White.
Yes. Just want to explain my vote for the additional appropriation. It's unfortunate that the equipment for the street department was included in that appropriation with these other projects. I fully support the equipment and vehicles that's needed by the street department to do their job as efficiently as they do it and as safely as possible. So I fully support those appropriations, and but it was included in an additional appropriation with a number of projects where, one, we don't own the property, and the others weren't even designed yet, and with respect to a purchase of land, which additionally appropriating for projects that haven't been designed. I think this council had set a precedent earlier in wanting to wait to see what they look like before we appropriate hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars for them. And as a matter of principle with respect to the purchase of land, I sit on the Planning Commission, and there's a long story behind that project, and I, just as a matter of principle, with what's happening there, I strongly disagree with the purchase of that land. So just want to clarify that I fully support the vehicles and the equipment for the street department. My vote was not in relation to that, but that it was coupled with projects that I cannot vote for. Thank you.
Councilperson Zastani informed me earlier he had a client that he has to meet with, so that's why he exited. So we will move on to Councilperson Young.
I have a few things. So first, Vicki, while I have you in the same room, can I add an agenda item to our next meeting? The Pay Grades Committee is ready to give their recommendation to the full council after now I think 4 separate meetings of the Pay Grades Committee. We have worked through all the details, and so I'll be presenting our final recommendations at our next council meeting.
Would we do that during a council workshop, because we have not had any updates or know anything that you all have worked on, or...
Well, I mean, I think that if the majority of the council's intent is to have a workshop, we can do it that way. I think that the committee is unanimous in its recommendations, and so we were just going to basically talk about the discussion we've had so far. I don't imagine it would take more than 10 to 15 minutes, but if you would like to allocate more time for that, then we can do that.
Council, what do you think? 'Cause I know
If I send it far enough ahead of time, is that at least a week in advance, then everybody's good with that?
we just haven't had an email update, or we don't really know, because it's been a while since the rest of us heard anything since that original workshop, and I know that the main
it's been a
thing
couple
is
months.
to address those that are capped out so that they can at least get a cost of living or something, so.
Yeah, so, and that's actually a separate discussion that we should probably, again, visit individually even before budget time. A majority of the recommendations that were made were adjustments to the pay grades and looking at increasing what those minimums salaries or hourly pay would be for certain positions just for the city to remain competitive and be at market value. The comp plan and capped employees are a small part of that. So I can send it out and potentially, I'll try to send it out at least a week ahead of time, and then we can decide if we want to dedicate more time, if that works.
That works.
Vicki, what time do you need for things to be in the packet? What would be the best time to send it to?
I need it the Wednesday before the meeting,
Okay, I can do that.
and I have
Great.
to have it by noon that day.
Wednesday by noon. Okay, I'll make sure you have it before then. Thank you. Also, primary day is tomorrow, so for anyone in the audience, anyone watching, please go out and vote. Polls are open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you're not sure what your polling location is, I probably have it memorized by now since I've been recruiting all the poll workers, which is why I'm in such casual attire today. My apologies. I know several council members are on the ballot. Actually, maybe even a majority of council members are on the ballot in some shape or form for delegates, so best of luck with that tomorrow. Also, Mother's Day is Sunday, so just a note, Lisa, happy Mother's Day. And then also, in terms of the surplus funds that were, where the motion was approved tonight on the first and second, I'd just like to add that I think it's the city's responsibility to manage taxpayer dollars, and all of the surplus funds are dollars that have been collected from taxpayers, and I think it's wrong for them to sit in an account that is over $8 million. I think that money should be used to better the community and to better, and I also applaud the administration for setting the priorities and being very transparent about those, and I think it's the role of the council to fund those. And so, in my opinion, this is how the process works when it's being executed flawlessly. So thank you to the administration and the majority of council members that supported that. That's it.
Councilperson Maples.
No comment.
Councilperson Hawkins.
I have a couple of things. One, and to tag along with Callie, I'd like to point out that there are no better forebears or ancestors to have than those that were frugal. So for you gentlemen who have been on previous, and ladies who have been on previous councils that allowed us to have a surplus that was so large, we wouldn't even be having these conversations had you not done your duty properly. So I think previous councils and people that have sat up here did a fantastic job that allowed us now to make these decisions and argue about how we spend extra money. Most places don't have extra money to argue about. And then the second thing I want to bring up is, did we, and it's more of a question, did we or are we or have we done anything with Taste of Jeff? That's coming up, I believe, next week, May the...
I think it's Thursday, isn't it?
Thursday, it's coming up. What have we done? Have we done anything? What did we do?
I sent it out and never got any response. Sent it out over a month ago and never got any response.
So did we, now that's not a thing we buy a table to, or
It's individual tickets.
individual tickets?
I don't know if we've purchased them, but that's how the
You
event
have
is
in the
set up.
past, but nobody responded, so.
Okay, well then I guess that answers all of my, all of my questions. That's
We'll
it.
buy us a ticket.
Well, we have it in the past, but we have kind of have this situation with trying
Well,
to get a
because I know
policy in place and address it
Mr.
all.
Zasabny had missed a couple meetings, and then he had said something to me about it. I kind of sort of remembered something, but that was as far as I could take him, and then now he's left, so he doesn't know exactly, I don't know exactly what to ask, but that was it.
Okay. Councilperson Ellis.
No comment.
Councilperson Samuel.
No comment.
Okay, and I think I'll send out a reminder on, I think everybody was in agreement for the field trip June 4th at 6 to Visiting Park, so I'll send an email, a reminder out on that. And I kind of, some of the things that Councilperson White brought up about design and all that, I did have quite a few meetings with the administration and with Andy, and I know the process was started, but they can't do the design without, there's no money there, because if you all remember, we used quite a bit of Andy's funding for a certain project, and he just does not have the funding to get that started. So I know a lot of that stuff they were asking for this appropriation to get those designs done. You got to pay the piper, so to speak. But And I do appreciate the mayor coming, and he formally asked, he brought up the needs, and back up what Callie had said, that it does directly benefit the taxpayers, and if we're not going to benefit them, then it's like he said, then we should give the money back to the taxpayers. So I appreciate everybody's support on that. If there's no further, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Meeting